Hello and welcome back to Karma Stories. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today I have some stories for you from the Malicious Compliance subreddit. If you're on YouTube, make sure to drop a like on the video and let's jump right in. This story comes to us from Illuminatus Prime. Deck them halls and do it right. I had moved in the previous summer, late July, into a non-HOA community and didn't have any problems with the neighbors until the day after Halloween, when someone left a snarky note on my door about not having any holiday decorations up. And if I couldn't even afford a lousy pumpkin on the porch, I was probably too poor to afford living there. Thanksgiving came and went, and I got another nasty little note saying I had better start showing some community spirit or else. Neither note was signed, and the cops just took my statement and said there was nothing they could do. That was my cue for enacting some malicious compliance. I went out and bought some lights and garlands and started putting them up when the neighbors started putting up theirs. Every couple days I'd add a few more until the front of the house was practically covered in glitz and glitter. On Christmas Eve, I added one last piece, switched on all the lights and left them running until morning. Christmas morning found me waking to the sound of an angry voice and someone pounding on my door. I cracked open the inner door and left the security door locked. Dude objected to my Christmas star having 6 points instead of 5. He launched into a racist, hate-filled tirade against me and anyone displaying a 6-pointed star. Right about then, a cop car pulls up to the curb and 2 uniforms quietly walk up while the idiot continued to rant, with many expletives, racist slurs, and some very violent threats. He must have seen I was smiling at something over his shoulder because he turned around and stopped in mid-rant. There's gotta be fallout, of course. The neighbor was last seen sitting in the back of a patrol car as it pulled away. Yeah, I went downtown and signed the complaint. Later, sat in on the hearing and had to admit under oath that a 6-pointed star is a legitimate symbol for the season. Dude got a fine and community service. I got to put up the same decorations without hassle for 2 more years before moving out of state. Jumping down to the comment section on this one, we have one from a user called Dripping Snarkasm. It says, if I had been your neighbor, I'd have put up a 7-pointed star in solidarity, maybe even a 13-point star, and a pentagram. I'd say OP took it pretty easy on the neighbors, putting up some garland, putting up some sparkly stuff, and putting up some lights. Yeah, you could have done more. You could have had Santa Claus out there on the front lawn, giving the middle finger to the neighborhood or something like that. OP, it's too bad you moved out of that neighborhood because I would have carried that on for every single holiday throughout the year with something that would give them the middle finger. Now, this next story actually appears in the comments of the first one and comes from a user named Jillycat. It says, I have this habit of checking dates for the winter holidays. I'm sure I missed some, but go for the big ones I know of. While things like Christmas and Yule are set, Hanukkah and Kwanzaa's date ranges change, so I make sure to check every year. I even started throwing in Festivus from Seinfeld because my dad liked the show. December 23rd if anyone is interested. I started looking at these dates because of all the war on Christmas, it's not happy holidays people who just annoy me. Multiple holidays and all, if I can't acknowledge them all in one getting in, I'm going to be pedantic about it. For the record though, my family celebrates Christmas, and as a pagan, I acknowledge Yule. But since my family celebrates Christmas, I celebrate and acknowledge it with them. It just bothers me that nobody bothers to acknowledge the other holidays, unless they're within that religion. If I know someone celebrates a certain holiday, I always try to wish them appropriately, as I wish anyone would do for me with Yule, which started my mental calendar. Anyway, I was at Walmart years ago in line behind a crazy lady waiting to check out. The cashier finished ringing up Crazy Lady and said Happy Holidays, and the lady went nuts, screaming at this poor cashier that it was Merry Christmas, not Happy Holidays, and the war on Christmas and so on. She had cashed out already, had her bags, and was just standing there ranting. Poor cashier looked ready to cry. I went ahead and stepped up and had the cashier start ringing my items, which set off the nutbag further, because now she was being ignored. Can you not hear me? I'm talking to you. Say it right. Something to that effect. Like, lady, the people in the parking lot can hear you. I looked at the cashier to try to convey with my eyes that I would totally back her up if she decided to beat the woman half to death with the barcode scanner. And my eye caught the Star of David she was wearing. It happened to be the second day of Hanukkah. I didn't have much, so she had finished ringing me up, and I could tell she didn't want to go through the happy holiday spiel with the lunatic still watching, so I just smiled at the cashier and said, "Thank you, ma'am. Happy Hanukkah." Psycho lady lost it at me. Why would I say that? It's Christmas, not Hanukkah, blah blah blah. I just waited for her to take a breath and did, "Look lady, today is a date I don't quite remember. Hanukkah runs from this date to this date this year. This woman is wearing a Star of David, which means it's likely her holiday of religion is Hanukkah. Today is not December 25th, so no, it's not Christmas. It is, however, the second day of Hanukkah. I would like to wish you a happy Hanukkah as well from this date to this date, and on December 21st, I would like you to have a blessed Yule. On the 23rd, may you have a wonderful Festivus. From this date to this date, I hope you have a joyous Kwanzaa. Other days, may you have a wonderful holiday season. But lady, on December 25th, I really hope you have a crappy Christmas. You deserve it." It was probably one of the moments I felt proudest of myself. I got followed out of the store by screaming crazy lady, but at least she left that poor cashier alone. At least for the time she was following me. I hope she left after following me to my car at least and didn't go back. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called Murgatroyd314. It says, "Another nice pedantic approach is to use Merry Christmas from December 25th through January 5th. In the 4 weeks leading up to the 25th, wish them a sober and penitent Advent." Okay, you know OP of this story absolutely made that cashier's day, possibly that cashier's week, or maybe even that cashier's whole year. I bet they tell the story about this customer standing up for them against the angry Karen all the time. This story comes to us from Bell's Games. "New manager forces me to take lunches, so I do." So the place I work at had mandatory lunch hours we're supposed to take between certain hours based on what hours we're working. I'm an operator, so it's not like I can just walk away from the job if something's going on. My duty is to keep the plant running and make sure nothing bad is happening to the equipment. So, after constantly having to call the old manager about missing my clock-ins or clock-outs because I got busy with something, he told me about this survey I could fill out whenever this happened that basically said, I took my lunch, I just didn't clock out for it, and payroll would adjust it accordingly. So, on that note, if you're on an official clocked out lunch as an operator, and an alarm goes off or you're interrupted for any reason, you have to clock back in and address the issue, and then either clock out again and retake your entire lunch, or just call a manager and fill out the survey, and you're basically paid for your lunch. So, I filled out the survey every single morning, choosing to just skip the whole ordeal of trying to remember my lunches. That's literally what the survey is for. Now, on to the malicious compliance. New manager comes in. A month in, he pulls me aside and says, I haven't been clocking out for lunches. I inform him of the survey. He tells me that's only for the occasional missed lunch. I disagree with him. The writing clearly states I voluntarily chose to skip my meal. He basically orders me to start clocking out for lunch. Sneaky malicious compliance ensues. So for the next 2 weeks, since I have a 2-hour window to take a half-hour lunch, I waited until about the last half hour, and then specifically wait until I see a certain piece of equipment drawing close to a nuisance alarm level, and then clock out for lunch. Somewhere between 5 to 10 minutes later, the alarm goes off. Oops, guess I have to clock back in and go silence that alarm. Oh no, not enough time to restart my lunch. I did that for 2 weeks straight, forcing the company to pay me for my half-hour interrupted lunches. New manager tried to ignore it until his boss, who was like old manager but got promoted a few years back, comes down to ask me why I stopped filling out the survey. I inform him of new manager's instructions, to which he rolls his eyes and tells me to go back to using the survey. Never heard another word about it. And the cherry on top, we just got all new time clocks a few weeks ago, the survey lingo pops up when we clock out now, instead of just a name and a time. So I still don't have to clock out for lunch. Now I just click OK, agreeing that I took my lunch at some point, and I'm good to go. OP added an edit down at the bottom to clarify some things. It says edit. Alright, let me add some stuff because y'all seem to think I'm giving the company free money. First of all, I'll be honest, a lot of my job is sitting around doing nothing. The plant runs itself for the most part. I'm paid to react to upsets, not sit here and do a task non-stop for 8 hours. So, in my opinion, a lot of my time is a break. Second of all, this is a union job. Third of all, I am taking my lunch. I'm just choosing not to clock out for it. My hours remain the same, whether I clock out for it or not. The survey just ensures I don't get paid extra for a missed lunch. If I do legitimately miss my lunch because of an upset, the survey also has the option to say, I missed my lunch, and I'll get paid an extra half hour for the day. The new time clocks have the survey embedded in them when we clock out, defaulted to I took my lunch. If I missed my lunch that day, I can change the clock out checkboxes to I missed my lunch, and I'll automatically get paid for them. So basically, no, I'm not working for free. I still take my lunch and probably take a bit longer than half an hour to cook everything and eat it. But I'm still actively monitoring the system. So what I'm getting out of this one is that OP isn't actually taking any time to step away from the job. They're taking their lunch, they say, but they're still actively monitoring the systems. Okay. I honestly think it's pretty important for your mental health to step away from work when they give you a break and have that time to just refresh your brain, talk to some coworkers and enjoy your time before you go back to work and focus on that completely. Besides, where I am in Ontario, Canada, you have a 30-minute unpaid lunch break, and so if I'm not getting paid for those 30 minutes, you're darn well sure that I won't be working for those 30 minutes. This story comes to us from Clinton Umbarger. Rules are important. I recently started working in a very large packaging facility. Beginning there, I was excited for the opportunities I would have working for such a major company. Early on, I noticed a lot of placating, patronizing things that sent a message of, you should be grateful you work here. It was overly obnoxious implementation too. Keeping my rosy colored glasses on, I am working as hard as I can despite everyday equipment not working correctly, conveyor belts not running, etc. Now, there are a lot of rules for our safety and the company's. One of the major rules is that if you are not officially trained for it, do not do it, even if a manager tells you to. Recently, they have become draconian with their rules, at least for the lower rung workers, not so much for management if it inconvenienced them. So you're getting coached frequently. Now, there's a manager that should not have any leadership position whatsoever. He has zero interpersonal communication skills. Anytime he has to talk to you, he is demeaning, condescending, and his voice and body language let you know how inconvenienced he is, and can't believe he has to do it. Yesterday, I had enough. Cue Malicious Compliance. I'm packing items into boxes and putting them on the conveyor belt. I run out of a few sizes of boxes. So, per protocol, I turn on the help light above my station and wait because I need those boxes. Manager comes by. What's up? I need these boxes. Well, do you know where they are? Or you can go get them from another station. I was told not to do that. What do you mean? You can't go get boxes? Okay, I'm asking, go get boxes. I'm not supposed to leave my station, and that is this person's job that I'm not trained for. Fine. The look on his face was blank but turning slightly red, and I thought I could see steaming rage coming out of his ears. In a few minutes, I get my boxes, delivered by manager, and continue work. Shortly after, I see him showing around the person responsible for stocking our boxes. Not much time passes, and the conveyor belt stops running, and it fills up so we can't place packages on them. Before today, I would stack them around my station, and keep working and find a manager to find a solution. Our work area is not supposed to be cluttered, and I'm not supposed to leave my station. So I turn the light on and stop working. Hey, what's going on? I have no place to set my packages. What do you mean? Put them right here. Points at the floor next to my station. I was told not to put anything on the floor. It's a tripping hazard. I can't believe who told you that. When I worked at this location, stammer. I had 3 trainers on separate occasions and situations tell me this. Manager stares at me for a solid 3 seconds and looks around. That station over there. Walk over and stack the packet there. I'll put them on the conveyor belt when I get back. The station is about 50 feet away, and I'm on the end nearest it, so I start jamming out walking packages over. I hear him telling the rest of the station to do the same. In the 15 minutes it takes for the belt to run again, there is at least 75 packages piled up at the other station, all various sizes and weights. Manager walks by and stops dramatically, staring at the dragon's horde before him, mouth open, incredulous. The first package he picks up must have been heavy, cause he stumbles a little picking it up. The only place to put them on the line is right next to me. He proceeds to slam each and every one down on the belt, huffing and puffing. I don't even acknowledge his existence, but inside, I'm laughing my butt off. Jumping down to the comments on this one, we have one from a user called ThinGround5185. It says, "Is this a union job? Because they can get very riled up by non-union managers taking union work from the floor employees, like loading the box packages back onto the conveyor. I know it was more fun watching him struggle and pitch a fit, but it could have been very satisfying after all that to tell him, you're not allowed to do that. Yeah, you could push that one a little bit further, look at this guy and say, hey, you're having trouble with those boxes. Have you been trained properly on how to move heavy objects? Because it doesn't seem like it, and we're not supposed to do the jobs that we're not trained to do. Remember?" This story comes to us from Bard24601, Phony Business. Background: I was on a family phone plan with my folks well into my adult years. My dad liked to take the lion's share of the data plan and would send out a passive-aggressive "oink oink goes the pig" if anyone but him was using too much data. The rest of us had to connect to Wi-Fi whenever possible. We all had better have a good reason if we got close to using up a quarter of the shared data plan. 4 people on the plan and split 4 ways, but he liked to take his half out of the middle. The 4 of us paid into the plan each month, and in theory, it was cheaper than an individual plan. Story: for a birthday, he announced that I was getting kicked off the family plan because I needed to be a man or some other grown-up nonsense. I think he may have mentioned something about how he hated that my grown relatives were doing something similar and needed to grow up. The details are fuzzy, but this wasn't the first time, nor the last time, that he would announce unpleasant things at birthdays and holiday family gatherings. So I took it in stride and switched to an independent phone plan. I got the cheapest, most basic data plan, and it ended up being comparable to what I was paying into the family plan. I also realized just how little I actually use my data, and the plan was actually fairly comfortable for my needs, so I stuck with it. The fallout: a year later, he brings up the idea of getting me back into the family plan because getting me off the plan ended up not only costing more money per person, the phone carrier also had a deal going on where the more people connected to one plan, the less expensive per person the overall plan would be. Some sort of wholesale or group discount or another. I told him that I was perfectly happy with my independent phone plan paying my own rate. I also reminded him that the only reason why I got off it to begin with was because he didn't think I was being a responsible grown adult. I simply wanted to prove to him that I could manage all of my own bills like a real adult, unlike others in my family he liked to complain about. He tried asking me a few more times about it throughout the months because it would be so much cheaper for him, but I continually brought up how much he hated my relatives that refused to grow up and that he wanted me to not be like them per his gift on my birthday. I stuck with it because while I could have access to more data that I could use, the absence of snarky texts about being a data hog was more than worth the price. OP, I think opportunity was missed here. I would be telling the other people on this family plan that they could go out and get their own independent plan as well and still have enough data to get them through. And then Dad would be stuck paying for the whole bill himself, and all that data that he's using would require a pretty hefty package, don't you think? Alright, I think we'll end this one here. If you enjoyed this episode, I encourage you to follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. Or if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button and drop a like on the video. It really does help us out. I thank you for watching and listening. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.